All right. The May 22nd, 2018 meeting of the Ways and Means Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ansello?
Here.
Mr. Baroth?
Here.
Mrs. Conley? Here. Chairman Delahanty?
Here.
Mrs. Draw?
Here.
Mr. Felder?
Here.
Mr. Hebert?
Here.
Ms. Cayley?
Here.
Mr. Marionetti?
Here.
Mr. Morelli?
Here.
Mr. Rocco?
Here.
Okay. Will Legislator Baroth please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any speakers signed up for the public forum?
There is not.
Is there anyone here who would like to address the committee at this time? Okay. Rochelle Bell, Senior Environmental Planner of Monroe County's Planning and Development Department, will now give a brief overview of the 2019 through 2024 Capital Improvement Program as it pertains to the Ways and Means Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You should all have a copy of the County Executive's proposed 2019-2024 CIP. The Monroe County Planning Board reviewed the proposal, held a public information meeting, and prioritized budget year projects before the CIP was submitted to your honorable body. At the full legislature meeting in June, you'll set a public hearing for your July meeting, after which you will vote on the proposed CIP. There are no funding approvals associated with taking action on this referral. So let's look at the 6-year program in terms of funding sources, budget year funding, and program highlights from selected departments. Proposed total program funding in the CIP is $385,507,000, which is approximately 1% more than last year's program. Total county funding accounts for 62% of the total CIP. It's just over $237 million, which is 5.1% more than last year's program. There are two kinds of county funding: bonding and cash capital. Cash capital projects are paid for out of operating funds instead of with a bond. Cash capital does not impact the county's debt. Most of the increase in total county funding in the proposed CIP is cash capital for projects in the Department of Information Services. And we'll talk more about that department in a minute. District funding is used by the Pure Waters program and accounts for 13% of the total CIP funding. It is 18% more than last year's program due to updated analyses of project requirements. Enterprise funding for the hospital, airport, and solid waste accounts for 7% of CIP funding. Overall, programming for enterprise funds is down 9.6%, or $2.7 million, as compared to the adopted CIP. The airport is programming approximately $6 million less than last year due to the vast amount of work done at the airport this year and last with the state grant. State and federal funding, which together account for 18% of CIP funding, is approximately 15% lower than last year's program. This is due to a combination of the impact of the state grant on the airport accelerating programming and decreased federal funding, although federal funding for the latter years of the CIP is difficult to anticipate. There is $1.9 million in private funding in the proposed CIP. A private developer is planning to pay for part of the East River Road project. Table 2 on pages 4 and 5 of your CIP lists 59 capital budget projects in priority order as determined by the Monroe County Planning Board. 2019 capital projects will require just under $40 million in county funding, which is just 1.5% more than the 2018 capital budget. And finally, here are highlights from a few of our departments. There are 14 new projects in the proposed CIP. One is for the Board of Elections, which is on page 8 of your book. The federal and state government have indicated that counties may need to upgrade their voting machines, so we're planning for that just in case. The Information Services Program is described on pages 9 and 10 of your book. These are the same projects that were in last year's CIP, and they will be funded with cash capital. Therefore, they do not impact the county's debt. The increase is due to being able to more accurately anticipate the impact of the LDC dissolution in the latter years of the CIP. The airport has a large program, 28 projects. That begins on page 23. The proposed airport program is 20% less than the adopted program due to the impact of work done with the state grant. There's one new project, Airport Safety and Security. It's introduced into the CIP in 2020 and involves a technology update and new perimeter fence segments. The Department of Environmental Services Pure Waters Program, page 40 of your CIP, has 6 projects. 2 projects, one of them new, involves sizable district funding in the early years of the CIP. General improvements to the sanitary sewer system in 3 of the 4 Pure Waters districts will utilize already authorized financing in 2019. And then after that, these projects will be funded with cash capital. Transportation projects account for 33% of CIP funding and over half of county funds programmed in the CIP. Highway and Bridges has a large program, which begins on page 56. It has 2 new road projects and 2 new bridge projects. The funding schedule and amounts changed for some projects from the adopted CIP as needs and costs become more clear. And as I said, federal funding is only really known for the first few years of the CIP. The Public Safety Department's program, page 80 of your CIP, there are 5 new projects. You will see 2 of the new projects, vehicle replacement and a flatbed truck replacement, in the 2019 capital budget. There are other 3 new projects introduced in 2024. Funding for public safety projects were rescheduled based on shifting needs and efforts to balance planned spending over the 6-year plan horizon. For example, forensic instrumentation upgrade moved up to 2019 and 2020 from 2021 due to increased caseload. And finally, the Sheriff's program begins on page 87, and there are 2 new projects in the Sheriff's proposed CIP. Replacement of the CBRNE total containment vessel and upgrading booking stations. These are both scheduled for 2024. I'll be happy to take questions when the committee gets to this item on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. You have the minutes from the April 23rd, 2018 meeting before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. The next item on the agenda is new business. Madam Clerk.
Referral 18-0152.
Moved by Legislator Hebert, seconded by Legislator Draw. Are there any questions? Legislator Broth.
Sorry, the microphone's fighting me. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the administration, I just want to ask quickly, were any ads placed in any other newspapers besides the Messenger Post and the Daily Record for this?
Through the chair, no, we did not.
Thank you. Through the chair, was there any direct mailings or anything else along those lines to get the word out?
Through the chair, yes, we sent direct mail to our partners and other organizations and agencies that we partner with and have expressed interest in CDBG funds.
Thank you. So through the chair of the administration, when you say partners, I'm assuming you mean organizations, correct?
Yes.
Not individuals.
Correct.
Thank you.
Through the chair.
Legislator Cayley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration. Following up on my colleague's request on notices, were notices posted at the Monroe County libraries?
Through the chair, we sent letters to the library.
Thank you. And then through the chair, a letter, I guess in format, there was nothing in format that would be considered a poster or notice of of these forums, meetings?
Through the chair, no.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 18-0153.
Moved by Legislator Draw, seconded by Legislator Rockow. Is there any discussion? Legislator Barat.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the administration, regarding the Pure Waters projects, if I understood the presentation correctly, about 13% of the total CIP is in regards to that area, and that there was an increase of about 18% due to updates in the accounting of expenses. Is that correct, through the chair?
Through the chair, could you repeat the question, please?
Of course. If I'm correct in my understanding from the presentation, the Pure Waters District projects represents about 13% of the total CIP package, and that 13% represents an increase just within that area, an 18% increase of cost due to some sort of updating of understanding what the expenses were going to be. Is that correct?
Through the chair, yeah, I didn't run the exact numbers, but that sounds accurate due to the addition of funding on an existing project and the addition of a new project.
So, in fact, there was an addition of a new project that resulted in this increase, not a change in the anticipated expenses with current project. Is that correct, through the chair?
Partially correct in that on an existing project, the secondary clarifier improvements at Van Laer, we did add additional funding in year 2020, and then we did add an entirely new project in the form of the Van Laer electrical system improvements project. But then we also had some offsetting reductions in removing the proposed funding in 2019 for the 3 suburban district general fund projects.
And forgive me, through the chair, so you removed 3 projects from, what were those 3 projects that you removed?
Through the chair, we didn't actually remove the 3 projects. We simply removed the proposed funding in the year 2019 for the Irondequoit Bay South Central Pure Water District General Pump Station and Interceptor Improvement Project, the Northwest Quadrant Pure Water District General Pump Station Interceptor and Treatment Plant Improvements Project, and the GCO General Collection System Improvement Projects.
So through the chair, if I understand correctly, that those 3 projects are going to be delayed for a year?
Through the chair, they are general general projects, so they have annual funding every year. We've simply removed the request for 2019, as was asked and mentioned in EPW last evening. We have existing authorizations that we have not yet maxed out or expended, so we're in effect living and funding projects based on the money in hand and the authorizations in hand, and we're going to try to make that last through the end of 2019, so we don't ask for additional funding until year 2020.
That's interesting. So if I understand correctly, for this project, at least through the chair, we bond out projects, and if we don't use all the funds for that particular project that we bonded for, we will use that bonding authority for other projects or moving forward. Is that correct?
Through the chair, no, that's not correct. These projects are a single project. It's called a general project with the titles I mentioned for each of the 3 districts. There's also a 4th general project for the Rochester Pure Waters District. Those are in addition to other very specific projects, as is mentioned in the plan. We have the Van Laer secondary clarifier, Van Laer electrical system. So the general fund projects are used in each district to fund a whole host of general collection and pump station and treatment plant projects. We often refer to them as quote-unquote 5-year plan projects internally within DES.
Okay. So basically, you're talking about these are ongoing projects that are all over the place, and because of that, we can use funds from past authorizations moving forward, because it's the same project essentially, through the chair.
Through the chair, that's correct. We're basically limited, certainly by the scope of the resolution, but we're also limited by financing law. We certainly can't borrow, even on an authorized fund. I think it's beyond 10 years from the initial date of borrowing. And each fund for all projects, Pure Waters and otherwise, have a period of probable usefulness. And that comes into play if we borrowed money 5 years ago and the term is going to expire in 5 more years, and now all of a sudden in year 6 we want to borrow the full amount, that could be problematic for finance. And so there is a point at which we can't borrow on the authorizations anymore. We effectively then lock and close those. And then in the case of these 3 funds, we can create a brand new capital fund and kind of start the clock over, if you will, with future funding.
Okay. Thank you very much. On a slightly different topic, it was mentioned in the presentation that most of the increase in the CIP was resulted from an increase in the use of cash capital. Is that correct, through the chair?
Through the chair, I don't recall that.
I mean, it's a CIP as a whole, not just with Pure Water, just the overall numbers, through the chair.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, that is correct for county funding.
Correct. So, through the chair of the administration, how much is the total amount of cash capital projects in the current CIP? Do we have that number?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, yes, I have that. $32,380,000.
Thank you. And through the chair of the administration, do we know how that compares to past year CIPs in terms of the level of the utilization of cash capital? An approximation is fine.
Yeah. Through you, Mr. Chairman, let's see. Compared to last year, we used $25,190,000. So this is a $7,200,000 increase.
Okay. And through the chair of the administration, it's my understanding that our move towards cash capital has been a relatively recent thing, and I could be wrong, and that in, say, 5 years ago, the amount of cash capital was much smaller. Is that correct, through the chair?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, that is correct.
Thank you. And then finally, I have a request through the chair to the administration. I would request, could I have a copy of the text you used for your presentation? I found it to be very succinct and useful. I'd like to have a written copy if I could.
That's okay. Through you, Mr. Chairman, we will provide that, yes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Legislator Cayley.
Mr. Chairman, through you to the administration, I'm going to ask the same question basically that I asked for the prior referral as to notification to the libraries.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, when the CIP is introduced to the Planning Board, it is considered public. It's posted on our website, and we distribute it widely, including municipalities and libraries.
Thank you. But then to drill down a little bit through the chair, is it distributed in a reproducible manner, such as a poster, heads up, this is coming, or is it just a letter to those entities?
We do prepare a poster, a flyer that we have available at the public information meeting, and it includes the agenda, which is distributed to all the municipalities. I cannot recall if that agenda poster is distributed to the libraries.
All right. Thank you. I'd just like to make a comment. In both of these, we are talking about something that it's good to hear about the flyer. I'm not going to vote against moving this forward, but it is a maintenance of effort that we're maintaining. And for me, it's a disappointment. It's not that hard to make a reproducible memo type thing that a library can put up or what have you. I just think that we should at least make that part of the maintenance of effort. It may not bring any more people in, but it would be interesting to see if more people did come in, if we actually did publish something that was not just on the website, because being on the website, there are a lot of people that aren't there, and there still are people that are interested. So that's all. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 180154.
Moved by legislator Rockow and seconded by legislator Ansello. Is there any discussion? Legislator Barra.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the administration, at the at the prior committee meeting for public safety, it was stated that the cost of the bands or the bracelets that this is going to pay for was approximately $4 to $12 a day, and that the cost at someone being in the jail per day was approximately $119. Do I recall that correctly?
Todd Wersinger, Monroe County Probation Deputy Chief. Through the chair, that is correct.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, the cost associated with being in jail for $119 per day, I'm assuming takes into account a whole bunch of different things, food, salaries, equipment, and all that good stuff. And the cost associated with the bracelet is just $4 to $12 a day, and I get that. Do we have an estimate? Do we know what is the approximate cost per participant per day for the domestic restriction program as a whole?
Through the chair, no, we don't.
Is that something that we could determine, or is that something that no one's ever looked at particularly through the chair?
Through the chair, I'm not aware of that specific.
Okay. I only asked because it was mentioned in chambers that it was, clearly it's a great thing to do because we save so much money per day. And I suspect, as a matter of fact, that's probably true. It makes sense. It would be cheaper as a whole. But I can't believe, the difference is it's only $4 to $12 a day. I mean, it's more cost associated than just that. But if you don't have that, that's okay. But I would just suggest when we make those comparisons, we just keep in mind that, we want to compare apples to apples, not to oranges. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Legislator Felder.
To you, Mr. Chairman, just one question. What is the difference between pretrial and enhanced pretrial?
Through the chair, that's a good question. The difference between pretrial services and enhanced pretrial services is case management, that in the enhanced pretrial services, they're actually assigned a pretrial employee to monitor their progress and provide assistance to them.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 18-0155.
Moved by legislator Ansello, seconded by legislator Connolly. Are there any questions? Legislator Barra.
Through you to the administration, I had a question about this referral relating to the position that the grant partially supports. From a prior committee meeting, it was stated that this grant, along with another grant, supports a position. Is that position currently filled through the chair?
Through the chair, yes, it is.
Thank you. And through the chair of the administration, how long has that position been filled by one person or another?
Through the chair, for several years, I would say about 8 or 9 years.
8 or 9. So long-term
Yes.
thing. Thank you. And then finally, through the chair of the administration, out of curiosity, does this person and the training that the person is going to provide have anything to do with the new ventilator beds and units we're going to be getting into the hospital in sometime this year, through the chair?
Through the chair, I didn't quite understand that part. Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure, of course. Through the chair to the administration, in a past referral, we've approved the funding to develop new beds that are capable of ventilation services for the patients. I was just curious if this individual will be providing training for those units as well.
Through the chair, no.
Okay, thank you very much.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 18-0156.
Moved by legislator Connolly, seconded by legislator Marionetti. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate. Oh. Legislator Cayley.
Lazy.
Okay.
I've been teaching my 3.5-year-old granddaughter to raise her arm when she's eating, so.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the administration, just a couple questions on this one. This is good to see. It's good to see it's a first-time grant. For the septic system replacements, I asked probably years ago a few questions that I'll probably ask again, but in specifics, how far into the watershed?
Oh, yep.
Am I on the wrong one?
Yes.
What did I miss? A whole page?
We're on 156.
Oh, I'm so happy you pointed that out. Never mind.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? That's all right. All right. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 18-0157.
Moved by legislator Marionetti, second by legislator Hebert. Legislator Baroff.
Clearly, this is 157, correct?
That is correct.
Excellent. So through the chair of the administration, am I correct to understand that we're essentially going to be paying HCSA so they can pay the sheriff's office to conduct background checks? Is that correct?
Through the chair, Paul Simonelli, just for those of you, my first time. So that's what it appears like. I can get you more clarification on that. This has been a long-term contract going back to 2015. So this is the fourth year for this contract.
So since it appears to be that's the case, yes, some more clarification would be helpful. Why do we do it this way, through the chair?
And through the chair, our office will supply that to you.
Okay. Through the chair of the administration, do we know when I would get that?
Through the chair, I'm sure I can get you an answer before the end of the week, possibly tomorrow.
That'd be great. I look forward to it. And along with that, if you don't know the answer, through the chair of the administration, is how is this? This has been handled like this since 2015. Do we know how this process of the background checks was handled prior to 2015?
Yes. So just to, through the chair, just to clarify, this contract reimburses for the services that we are providing in doing the background checks.
Yes.
Okay.
I understand. I mean, we're paying them.
No.
Okay, they're paying us. So I did misunderstand it. So essentially, the contract is they're providing us $80,000 through the chair.
Through the chair, I believe it says up to $80,000.
Fair enough, but up to $80,000. Is that
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Thank you.
Not to exceed, so not to exceed, but up to $80,000.
Okay. And then prior to 2015, how was this process handled in the past if it wasn't them, through the chair?
Through the chair, that's something we would have to research.
To be frank, I wouldn't worry about it too much. So I withdraw that question because I was more confused by the payment process. So
right.
Thank you for the clarification. I appreciate that.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 18-0158.
Moved by legislator Hebert and seconded by legislator Draw. Legislator Baroff.
Through the chair of the administration, we discussed this at length in the EPW yesterday, but I did want to follow up on one question. It was we learned that we don't actually have a Monroe County Water Quality Management Plan. That instead we have, I want to say, 7 individual watershed plans. Is my recollection correct, through the chair?
Through the chair, that's correct. But we have at least 8 projects at this point in time.
Thank you. So through the chair of the administration, am I correct then to imagine that then having those 8 plans was sufficient for the grantors? Because the referral reads, we're going to implement a water quality management plan that apparently we don't have. But the grantors don't mind, through the chair.
Through the chair, that is correct that it was satisfactory to qualify for the grant. And while we don't have a Monroe County specific plan, we have a watershed plan. So it's specific to particular watersheds, some of which may transcend the municipal borders of Monroe County.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and just to be clear, through the chair, this is not a criticism. I just want to make sure that was actually fine. I'm actually quite appreciative of the fact of all the work that the different boards do. In fact, I serve on one of them along with one of my colleagues here. So thank you very much. I appreciate that clarification.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 18-0159.
Moved by Legislator Draw, seconded by Legislator Rockow. Is there any discussion? Okay. See none. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 18-0160.
Moved by Legislator Rockow, seconded by Legislator Ansello. Is there any discussion? Legislator Barak.
Through the chair of the administration, on this referral, it talks about in the second paragraph of increasing a contract by $78,000 is due to grant funding that had previously been awarded and accepted. When did we accept that grant funding of $78,000? Through the chair.
Through the chair, this contract amendment request is includes some funding that was carried over from December of 2017 because the grant year is from October 1st through September 30th. And so the money that was in the current grant year was actually in the previous calendar year.
Mm-hmm.
So that is that chunk of money that it's talking about that was carried over.
Thank you. So through the chair of the administration, then in fact it is a resolution 430 from 2017, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 18-0161.
Moved by Legislator Ansello, seconded by Legislator Connolly. Is there any discussion? Legislator Barak.
Thank you. Through you to the administration, I noticed I sat in on the previous meeting, and I know that the increase is based upon noticing an increase in demand, essentially. But my question is, how was it that this increase in demand wasn't recognized when the original contract was put into place, which I believe was, in fact, this year, through the chair?
Through the chair, essentially the contracts are by the counties, and the counties evaluate their need for services. They just are having more deaths than they initially anticipated back when the contracts were initially negotiated.
And so through the chair of the administration, the counties were initially negotiated about when, through the chair?
Through the chair, initially towards the end of last year.
So November, December 2017?
Through the chair, I'd say yes.
Okay. And so through the chair of the administration, we became aware of this need to renegotiate, to amend in the last month or so, through the chair?
Through the chair, that's correct.
So a difference occurred in the last 3 months or so?
Through the chair, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Legislator Cayley.
Just briefly, thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you to the administration. With a sizable increase, do we have the staff to complete, to handle the additional services that we're contracting for?
Through the chair, we believe we do.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? Legislator Felder.
Program work with programs like Trillium Health and the Mocha Center to that deal with the those at-risk populations in terms of HIV and AIDS. That's the one we're on. I'm early.
We're
forgive
on
me.
161.
I'm early again. I
Oh.
apologize.
Okay.
My mistake. I apologize.
All right. Is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 18-0162.
Moved by legislator Connolly and seconded by legislator Marionetti. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 18-0163.
Moved by legislator Marionetti, seconded by legislator Hebert. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, legislator Felder.
Through you, to the administration. It talks about the risky populations, and I see something here about does the company work with, the program work with Chilium Health and the Mocha Center and things to help deal with the, particularly the high levels of infection in the African American community?
Through the chair, yes, this program works with any and all agencies to reconnect folks into care regardless of where they need or desire that to be, including Trillium, Mocha, any of the providers in our community.
Thank you.
Legislator Cayley.
Thank you. Through the chair to the administration, is it possible, and this is not before the next legislative meeting, to get an idea of the case impact in these populations? A bar graph would work.
Through the chair, I think what you're asking is the numbers.
Yes, basically.
Yes, I can provide that to you this evening through the chair. We provided service to 101 individuals in our community. We successfully linked or are continuing to be engaged in their linkage 94 of that 101.
Okay, thank you. Through the chair. It wasn't exactly what I meant. I guess I'm looking for, not this year, but from the inception to now. That's why I'm saying I don't need it right away. It kind of like a bar graph type of thing. A visual would be fine, or just the figures.
Through the chair, that would be no problem. We'll provide it.
Thanks so much.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 18-0164.
Moved by legislator Hebert, seconded by legislator Draw. Is there any discussion? Legislator Cayley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the administration. Can you just briefly explain this program?
Through the chair, essentially CDC has a program where they track violent deaths throughout the United States. New York and pretty much most states have a similar kind of sub-program that then feeds into the national CDC program. Local medical examiners' offices and coroners report out information on violent deaths. And violent in this sense isn't necessarily criminal violence, but rather any type of death that essentially is not natural. They then take this information, put it to the state puts it nationally, and they take whatever resources are available and better allocate them to look at addressing some of these violent deaths. Through the chair.
Thank you. And then through the chair, just from personal experience in the office and dealing with some constituents, there have been questions as to whether or not a death that was reported might actually fall under the violent death category. Are you putting into place a better scrutiny? I'm not saying anybody's not doing a good job. Because when you explain violent death is not necessarily what we would initially think of. I just know from personal experience there have been some deaths that have been reported and the coroner has completed the report that may well have been considered under this heading but did not. And so I'm just asking is because this is different
Well, through the chair, if the death is deemed by violence, and again, that means anything essentially not natural. So if it's an act of an accident,
Okay,
if it's an act of
I see.
suicide, an act of homicide, that's a violent death.
All right, thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 18-0165.
Moved by Legislator Draw, seconded by Legislator Rockow. Legislator Baraw.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the administration, at a prior committee meeting, it was indicated that we expect that there will be 15 to 25 households might be able to take advantage of this, depending upon the costs of their necessary repairs. Is that correct, through the chair?
Through the chair, yes, that's a best guess.
Thank you. And through the chair of the administration, I know the referral states that eligibility is determined based on distance from the tributaries, about 250 feet. Is that the only eligibility requirement, through the chair?
Through the chair, yes, it is.
Okay. So,
other than having a failing septic system.
right, and having the need for it, correct. Okay. And through the chair of the administration, do we have an idea what the universe is of how many residents or how many houses there may be within that radius?
Through the chair, I can't put a definite number on that. We have 30,000 septic systems throughout the entire county, but we have not narrowed it down quite yet to do our mailing for that. So it's a small percentage of the total in the county.
So through the chair of the administration, at what point in time will you develop that list for the mailing?
Through the chair, as soon as we can after getting the approval for the grant funds.
Thank you. So through the chair of the administration, I request then to the administration that we be provided with a number of housing or septic systems within that range, within that range from the water.
Through the chair, yes, we can provide that.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, so at this point in time, we don't know what the universe is, but it is possible that since this grant runs for 4 years and 10 months, that all 15 to 25 spots could be used up within the first couple months. Is that correct, through the chair?
Through the chair, I think that's a bit ambitious, but certainly we will use up the 150,000 allotted, I would say within the first year.
Within the first year, probably. Okay.
Again, it's a best guess.
Okay. And then finally, through the chair of the administration, because I anticipate that there's going to be more people requesting these funds than will be able to receive these funds, is this going to be done on a first-come, first-served basis, through the chair?
Through the chair, yes, it is a first-come, first-served basis, and I think it might be important to note at this point that this is the first cycle, and the state will be continually reevaluating and allotting more money into the future based on need.
So that leads to a follow-up question then. So if the state allocates more money in the future, and I was one of the ones, and this isn't me, so it won't be me personally, but I was one of the ones who made the request but didn't receive funding, would I be on a list at that point in time, or would I have to reapply in the future, through the chair?
Through the chair, I anticipate that we will be keeping the applications on file and develop a waiting list. I think that's the best course.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Legislator Cayley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you to the administration. Mr. Baroth has already asked a few of the questions that I had, but more specifically, with regards to having a waiting list for the ensuing years with recommendations, would the folks that were going to apply this year, is there a point system that you think you're going to use to administer eligibility other than a failing system? It could be a newly failing system versus a really bad failing system.
Through the chair, there is no point system. There is a first come, first serve, as long as they meet the eligibility requirements.
Okay, thank you. And then just briefly, through the chair, a failing system is a failing system, and how would you identify that?
Through the chair, generally a failing system is identified by sewage identified on the ground, on the surface of the ground, popping out of the ground, basically.
Percolating. Thank you. Percolating. Okay, thank you. And then only because I do own a piece of property up on the upper end of the lake, I do happen to know of some of the value of septics and whether you touch them or don't touch them. And with the engineering of the installation of the new septic system, will there be any thought given to or regulations given to the homeowner that's having the replacement done, knowing that there are septic engineers that actually write off on the engineering plan of the septic, in other words, ensuring the fact that it's going to work and not fail for a length of time?
Through the chair, I'm not sure I understand the actual question.
I guess, in other words, I don't want to deride any, through the chair, any septic businesses out there that are going to replace. But will the businesses that are going to be replacing these septic systems come under scrutiny? There are engineering firms that actually ensure their installation for a length of time. And I wondered if the county had looked into the replacement companies.
Through the chair, we don't necessarily regulate the companies who do the installations as far as what they ensure will last. Septic systems sometimes last a very long time, and they're designed based on the best information we have at hand, and some last longer than others. So we will not be holding certain companies accountable to what they advertise, if that's what you're asking.
Through the chair, thank you. I guess that is what I'm asking, because we are using a lot of taxpayer money for this, and a part of me says there are some ways to mitigate new failure if we're allowing the residents to choose the company that gives them the best rate for what they're trying to do, and then it fails in 5 years or less, or 10. I'm looking for some kind of limitation on the use of this grant money, the way that we would limit uses of HUD fund for rehabbing houses where you have to live in it for 5 years before you can do anything with it. I think that there's a little bit, part of this is missing.
Sure. So I think the best way to shed light on that, through the chair, is to say that the majority of these installations are next to water bodies, which requires a bit more design. And most of them will require a design professional, not just a septic company come in. And those engineering design costs will be done by a professional engineer. Those are covered by the grant as well. So these grant funds for the homeowners cover a design professional as well as the contractor.
Okay, thank you. That's fair enough.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 18-0166.
Moved by Legislator Rockow, seconded by Legislator Ansello. Legislator Marinetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the administration, the referral references that the potential purchaser, KeyBank, owns the county taxes on one parcel. I'm just looking for more details on that, and it also references that a search was done and there are no other taxes owed to the county. I just wanted to confirm that.
Through the chair, KeyBank did owe property taxes on a property that they had foreclosed on in the town of Gates. They have since been paid in full, and there are no other taxes owed by KeyBank or any of their executives.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Legislator Baroff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I must say that was a great question. I would have asked it myself. Through the chair of the administration, how much did the bank owe in taxes prior to paying it off recently? Through the chair.
Through the chair, about $325.
Thank you. So a very small amount of money then.
Through the chair, that's correct.
Thank you. And through the chair of the administration, what is the nature of the property?
It's a 4-foot wide sliver next to property that was owned by the prior owner before KeyBank foreclosed on it. The owner is deceased.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Legislator Morelli.
Chairman, through you to the administration, do you know if the town of Arundecoit had to perform any maintenance on this property?
Through the chair, no, they have not.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 18-0167.
Moved by Legislator Ansello and seconded by Legislator Connolly. Legislator Baroth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the administration, when the through you to the administration, the referral states that a second meter was erroneously assigned. But does the referral indicate there were actually 2 physical meters there? Through the chair.
Through the chair, there weren't 2 meters, but 2 meters were assigned to the property address, and therefore, when we got consumption for that particular address, the total amount of consumption was taken into account for Pure Water's billing.
Okay, so through the chair to the administration, so there isn't somebody who didn't pay their fees and now must pay it. It was just that we accidentally double charged, correct? Through the chair?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 18-0168.
Moved by Legislator Connolly, seconded by Legislator Marionetti. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 18-0169.
Moved by Legislator Marionetti, seconded by Legislator Hebert. Legislator Connolly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I just want to state that I think Integrated Domestic Violence Court is extremely important and useful for victims. It's necessary to support the domestic violence victims and provide them with the protection that they need to feel safe. The orders of protection that are issued in Integrated Domestic Violence Court and the ability for a victim to leave court with a certified copy of the order of protection is essential to accomplishing this goal. Mr. Chairman, I do have some questions about the implementation of this new program.
Okay, just one moment.
May I proceed, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Thank you. Through the chair, approximately how many court clerks would be deputized under this new plan?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe there are 3 that will be deputized.
Thank you. And through the chair, for what length of time would the appointment be for each individual clerk?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I don't believe there's an end date to that appointment.
Thank you. Through the chair, would there be any training for these court clerks?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yeah, there would be in terms of how the process works, and actually the people who would be deputized would be very familiar with the process. They are currently employees of the court system, and they are currently serving in the courtroom, providing different functions. So there would be training, and they would already be very familiar with this process. Through you, Mr. Chair, if I could just add one piece of this, I would just to clarify what our intent is with this. This isn't going to be a case where the county clerk's office ceases providing this function to the courts. What we're looking at doing with this is adding the pool to the pool of people who are actually able to perform this function.
Thank you. So through the chair, is it anticipated that the deputy court clerks that would, the court clerks that would be deputized, is it anticipated that their specific duties would apply only to integrated domestic violence court for orders of protection?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, yes, that's correct.
Okay, so, thank you. Through the chair, would they only be certifying orders of protection coming out of integrated domestic violence court? Or is it possible that they could also be certifying orders of protection that are coming out of other New York State Supreme Court justice courts?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the only court is the integrated court that we actually have county clerk's office staff there performing this function, so it wouldn't be anyone other than the integrated domestic violence court.
Thank you, and through the chair, will these appointments be made by name or by title?
It's by title, right? Pardon me? So we really haven't. Okay. Okay. Through you, Mr. Chairman, we haven't executed the agreement yet, obviously, until we get the authorization from Eddie to do that. But we haven't determined that.
Okay. Through the chair, how would the court clerks for integrated domestic violence court, would they maintain their being deputies if they go to if the court clerk that's currently assigned to integrated domestic violence court then transfers to like Wayne County or transfers to another courtroom in the Hall of Justice, would they keep that deputy court clerk status or deputy county clerk status?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, no, they wouldn't. This is just a authorization that County Clerk Bello would be authorized to grant, and his jurisdiction just would be in Monroe County.
Okay, so thank you. Through the chair, how are the new hires, meaning the new hires for court clerk position in integrated domestic violence court, going to be handled? Will those people also be coming through the legislative process?
No, through you, Mr. Chairman. Once we have the authorization, the county clerk would have the ability to deputize individuals.
Thank you. So through the chair, will the deputized court clerks, let me rephrase, through the chair, what safeguards would be in place to ensure that when someone who had been deputized and had worked in integrated domestic violence court, when those court clerks leave their position, what safeguards would be in place to make sure that they're not able to take their deputy county clerk ability with them?
I'm not really sure how to answer that. It wouldn't, well, they wouldn't have jurisdiction outside of Monroe County, right? Right. Through you, Mr. Chairman, all we do is the county clerk's office is issue these orders of protections through the IDV court. So we don't perform that function in any other venue but that venue.
The court clerks would be able to, once they're deputized, they would be able to certify records for the county clerk's office. Is that right?
No, it would solely be for these orders of protection.
So through the chair, how will the deputized court clerks be identified at the Hall of Justice? Will they be identified by title or position?
Mr. Chairman, there's been asked and answered. He already answered that question, and the response was that he's waiting for this body to approve it before that question could be answered. So asked and answered.
Okay. I just want to hear. I want to hear the answer one more time. I mean, we're
Like
going through the process.
You'd like it asked again?
Yes.
Is that to clarify?
Yep.
Okay, so we're allowed to re-ask questions.
Okay, through you, Mr. Chairman, we have not executed the agreement yet at this time, but it will be limited individuals who will be doing that. We're not looking to have more than a few people actually perform that function. So that's something that will be determined once the agreement's in place.
Thank you, and through the chair, what has the turnover been like in integrated domestic violence court for the county clerk position in the last 3 years, say?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, you know, that's one of the factors that has sort of brought us to this. I guess let me start out by saying this was something that the courts approached us with. They had an interest in doing that, having people deputized. And again, I would stress these are people who are already employees of the court, who are already in the courtroom while this is all going on. One of the problems that we have in the county clerk's office is we have what is, in my opinion, an exceptionally high turnover rate of employees. My colleague, Ms. Keiko, is here. She runs the downtown operations center for us. She's the assistant deputy clerk in that title. And we had a conversation in preparation for our meeting. She started here right at the very end of December, and we've had, just in the downtown operations center, probably about 40 personnel transactions in the 5 months that she's been on the job. That would include new hires, that would include people who've gone from part-time to full-time. You know, we've had a very high turnover in our staff. And what's happened is there was 1 week, a few weeks ago, we had 3 people announce that they were leaving and pursuing employment, other employment opportunities that paid them significantly more than what we were able to pay them in the county clerk's office. So what's happening is the people who we're assigning to IDV court are more senior people. But there are times and instances where our staff is spread very thin because of the turnover. And when you have high turnover, you need your senior people to be there training the new people and overseeing the efforts of the new people. And again, having said all that, you know, I would say there's probably a group of 3 or 4 of our people who are performing this function at different times who are doing it, and those are more senior people, and we haven't had those people have been long-term employees of our office. But again, I also want to stress with this, it's not like this, we're going to get this authorization and we're going to walk away from this and no longer play a role in this. We're looking to have authorization to have more people there so that when there are times where either through illness, staff turnover, or whatever circumstance, we have individuals who are trained and ready to perform this function. And you know, under no circumstances will there be any jeopardy that survivors of domestic violence will not receive the protection and the services they need. We're just looking at this authorization as a further safeguard of making sure that we're able to do that without any disruption.
Thank you. Through the chair, currently, is there a deputy clerk assigned to integrated domestic violence court on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings for the dockets?
Yeah, we have somebody there every day that they're there.
And then, thank you, and then through the chair, when orders of protection are issued, the employees of the county clerk's office actually bring those certified copies back to the county clerk's office for filing. Is that correct?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, yes, that is correct.
Okay. So, thank you. Through the chair, what will the communications be going forward between the court clerk and the county clerk's office to make sure that all of the orders of protection that have been certified that morning are then couriered over and properly filed in the same day?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, we will make sure that either somebody from our staff physically goes there and gets them and walks them back, or through arrangements with the court that somebody in the court physically walks them over to our office.
Thank you for your answer. I'm just still a little bit confused, though. How will you make sure, through the chair, that the court clerk, who is the deputized county clerk, if it is in fact not a county clerk person who's actually in integrated domestic violence court, that court clerk, what's the anticipated process to make sure that the communication between the county clerk and the clerk's office knows that all of the orders of protection that have been issued and certified are properly filed on the same day?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, we have a very good relationship with the court system. The county clerk is the clerk of the court, so our staffs communicate very regularly, and again, people have relationships, and it's a very good relationship. I'm not at all worried that, right now, roughly speaking, court runs from 9:30 to about 11:30. I have no doubt that if it is not a staff member of our county clerk's office who's over there certifying these order of protections, I have no doubt that and again, there will be regular communication, constant communication. I have no doubt that the courts will be sending these over regularly, and I'm quite positive if something happens where something didn't come, if we didn't receive a delivery or sent somebody over there to pick something up, I have no doubt at all that these orders of protection would be treated very seriously, taken very seriously, and then filed in an appropriate manner.
Thank you. Through the chair, so then do you anticipate there being some type of written document that spells out exactly what the county clerk and the court clerk's responsibilities would be?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, yes, there is a draft agreement that has been circulated between our office, the courts, and the county law department. So there would be a formal agreement written as part of this.
Thank you. So through the chair, can the legislators please have a copy of that written agreement before the full legislature meeting?
You have that, that's ready. Yeah. Yes, we would be able to provide that to you.
Thank you. Just a few more questions. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, through the chair. For court orders that are not issued in integrated domestic violence court that need to be certified and filed, will the court clerks be able to certify those types of orders and then curry them over for filing? Or
through you, Mr. Chairman, under the law, they would be able to perform that function in any venue per our MOU that we will be finalizing and we will provide you with. It would be limited to IDV court.
okay. Thank you. Through the chair to the administration, then, is it anticipated then that the current staff from the clerk's office would no longer regularly be in integrated domestic violence court, like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday when Judge Gallagher does his calendar call, and that on those days, court would be staffed by court clerks?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, that is a schedule that we will be working out with the courts, but again, would like to stress, it's not like we're going to be no longer performing that function, our office. And again, that's something that we will work out with the court system.
Thank you. Through the chair, does the clerk's office, does the county clerk's office anticipate that there would be a reduction in the staffing from your office to the Integrated Domestic Violence Court?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, could you be more, are you asking, I guess I'm not clear what you're asking.
Does the county clerk's office anticipate a reduction in staffing based on an employee from the county clerk's office not being present at Integrated Domestic Violence Court?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, yes. I mean, I would assume if we have this agreement in place with the court system, that with the guaranteed coverage, I would think that there could be instances where if we don't have an employee there every day because of coverage issues in our office, yeah, it would be possible that we wouldn't have staff there as much. But again, there would be continual coverage there. And again, we view our role with this as a partnership with the court system.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 18-0170.
Moved by Legislator Hebert, seconded by Legislator Draw. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 18-0171.
Moved by Legislator Draw, seconded by Legislator Hebert. Is there any discussion? All right. Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Are there any other matters to come before the committee? All right. There being no other matters, the May 22nd, 2018 meeting of the Ways and Means Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Ways and Means Committee will be held Tuesday, June 26, 2018 at 6 p.m.